Okay, we are live.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Honor to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. My utmost respect to the perfectly enlightened Samma Sambuddha, the noble doctrine of the Buddha, and the noble Mahasangha, the disciples of the Buddha. Hello everyone, welcome to our um, Dhamma session today. Today we gather to reflect on the wisdom contained in the Chitta Vagga of Dhammapada, and we have already discussed two more chapters, and today the chapter on the mind. This chapter offers profound insights into the nature of the mind and emphasizes the critical importance of mental discipline in our spiritual journey. The Buddha's teachings in these verses guide us towards mastering our minds, which is essential for achieving true happiness and liberation from suffering. The mind is like a powerful but untamed force. It can lead us towards suffering if left uncontrolled, or it can be a source of profound peace and wisdom when disciplined. Let's explore each verse in detail to understand how we can cultivate a mind that brings us closer to enlightenment. We remember, if you remember, we started with Dhammapada about the mind, Mano Pubbangama Dhamma. Mind is the forerunner of all evil states and good states. And over here, the entire chapter is dedicated to mind. So let me get started with the chanting first. Pandanang chapalang chittang durakkhang dunnivarayang ujung karoti medhavi usukaro tejanang varijo thale kitto okamokata ubhato Paripandatidan chittang maradheyang pahatave Dunnighassa lahuno yatha kama nipatino chittassa damatto sadhu chittang dantang sukhavahang Sududdasang sunipunang yatha kama nipatinang chittang rakkhetha medhavi chittang guttang sukhavahang durangamang ekacharang asarirang guhasayang Ye chittang samyame sankti mokkhaṃ te mara bandhana anavattita chittassa saddhammang avijanato pariplava pasadassa paññāna paripurati anavassuta chittassa ananvahata cetaso puññapāpa pahinassa natthi jāgarato bhayang kumbhopamang kāyamimang vidittvā Nagarupamang chittamidang thapetva yodethamarang panyayudena jitang cherakhe anivesanu Achirang vatayang kayo pathaving adhisesati chuddho apeta vinyano nirathang kalingarang diso disang yang tang kaira veriva panaverinang michha panihitang chittang papiyo nang tato kare natang mata pita kaira anyeva picha nyataka samma panihitang chittang seyaso nang tato kare. So these are the Pali stanzas that we have in the Chitta Vagga. So let us go to detailed explanation of these verses. So Pandanang chapalang chittang durakkang dunnivarayang ujung karoti medhavi usukaro vatejana. Just as a fletcher straightens an arrow shaft, even so the discerning man straightens his mind, so fickle and unsteady, so difficult to guard. This is a really, really important stanza. I think it can be a very motivating stanza to all those people who practice Dhamma. A fletcher, a craftsman who makes arrows, meticulously straightens each arrow shaft to ensure it flies true to its target. Similarly, we must straighten our minds, which are naturally fickle and unsteady. This process requires discernment, patience, and continuous effort. Just as a well crafted arrow is essential for a successful hunt, a well trained mind is crucial for a meaningful and virtuous life. By practicing mindfulness and self reflection, we can guide our minds towards wisdom and compassion, steering clear of distractions and delusions. I really like the way the Buddha has used so many similes and metaphors throughout the Tipitaka, and particularly in Dhammapada. You can actually do a separate research on those powerful similes and metaphors in the Dhammapada alone. So here again, how powerful it can be uh, when you when you, as a wise person, when you straighten your mind, you can really make a lot of things. You can benefit a lot, and you can ensure your true target. That is the idea of this. So the mind can be so fickle and unsteady, so difficult to guard. But then again, as a wise person, just like a fletcher, you have to guard your mind, and that way you can make the most of your mind power. Mind power is much more stronger than anything in the world. So we can use so much benefit. We can make the most out of it if we straighten it. The other stanza, Varijo thale kitto okamokata ubhato pariphandatitang chittang maradhiyang pahatave. As a fish when pulled out of water and cast on land throbs and quivers. Even so, is this mind agitated? Hence, should one abandon the realm of Mara? Mara Dheya here means realm of Mara. So, the mind is just like the fish. Again, you can easily recognize the nature of the mind when you look at this beautiful simile. Just as a fish pulled out of water and cast on land, you must have seen on many occasions how they throbs, how they quivers, how they panic, and how they wrestle, so restless and so panic when it comes to the water, out of the water. The mind is just like that. So um, the one should abandon the realm of Mara, the mind, because of the agitated mind. A fish out of water thrashes about in distress, unable to survive in an environment that is not natural for it. Similarly, our mind become agitated and restless when they are not in their natural state of calm and awareness. So that is the idea. The mind needs calm and mind needs to be aware. Mindfulness can be the place where the mind can be much more calm. So this verse urges us to recognize this agitation and strive to transcend the realm of Mara, the embodiment of temptation and delusion in Buddhism. Do you remember, like in the Dasa Sangyojanas, the 10 fetters, the Uddhacha, or the restlessness, is placed just next to the Avijja. Only by an Arhanta you can actually get rid of the Uddhacha, or the restlessness. Such a powerful thing this agitation is. So we really need a lot of powerful mindfulness, very strong set of mindfulness to make sure that the mind stays calm and peaceful. So, by practicing meditation and mindfulness, we can create a mental environment that supports peace and clarity, reducing the turmoil that distracts us from the path of Dhamma. Okay, so let's go to the other stanza now. Dunnigahas lahuno yatha kama nipatino chittas damato sadhu chittang dantang sukhavahang. Wonderful indeed it is to subdue the mind, so difficult to subdue, ever swift and seizing whatever it desires. A tamed mind brings happiness. Um, we also have seen mind is compared to a wild buffalo. When the wild buffalo is there out there, if you try to tame it, you can imagine the kind of restlessness, kind of stubbornness, kind of violence that it could display. So it's not so easy at the beginning. You need to be very smart, very skillful, very careful in taming the mind. Once you tame the mind, um, you can bring so much happiness. You can make wonders when you have um, a tame mind. The mind is incredibly swift and prone to chase after desires. Subduing such a mind is indeed a remarkable achievement. The verse highlights the joy and peace that come from taming the mind. The control mind does not react impulsively to every desire or aversion, but remains calm and centered. This stability leads to a deeper, enduring happiness that is not dependent on external circumstances. Through consistent practice, and self discipline, we can train our minds to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. There's a beautiful background story. I'll explain the story in short. There was a devout woman receiving instruction from the monks. So the monks were practicing, and this woman also wanted to practice with them. And then the woman was so hardworking, so mindful, and really um, very powerful practitioner. And she was able to attain anagami, the third stage of sainthood. And then also she achieved some supernatural powers, such as reading others' thoughts. And so even before the monks had gained their arahanthood, their liberation, their deliverance, this devout woman, this devoted lady, was able to attain anagami, the non-returner stage, along with the supernatural powers. And then she understood the physical needs of the monks, like the food, maybe alms food not enough, maybe medicine, what things are necessary for the monks to practice better. She administered to them all according to their needs, in order to practice better. So before long, these monks also were able to attain arahantship. And there was an avaricious monk, a greedy monk, hearing of her powers. Oh, there is a woman like that. I should go to her. I can also be, treated well by her because she can read my mind, what I need, and she hopefully treats me well. So the monk thought, and he visited that monastery. So, as she was helping the other monks, she was also doing everything as this monk desired. The monk thought, "Oh, whatever I desire, she brings to me. This is this is amazing." And the monk was little shocked and also scared, fearing fearing that evil thoughts might arise in him, and if he has some evil thoughts, what will happen? Like she could actually read them. So he was not so confident then, and he decided to go to the Buddha and reported the matter. The Blessed One, I had this experience. Actually, I was having a bad thought. I mean, I had a selfish thought by going to that place so that I could be treated well by that lady. But then I decided not to be there because if I get some bad thoughts, she might be able to read them as well. So the Buddha admonished the monk to subdue his uncontrollable mind. On the basis of this story, the Buddha recited uh, this stanza. Wonderful indeed it is to subdue the mind, so difficult to subdue, ever swift, and seizing whatever it desires. A tamed mind brings happiness. Okay, Chittavagga number 4. Sududdasang sunipunang yatha kama nipatinang chittang rakkhetha medhavi chittang guttam sukhavaham. Let the discerning man guard the mind, so difficult to detect and extremely subtle, seizing whatever it desires. A guarded mind brings happiness. Again, the mind is subtle and often difficult to observe. You can't really touch that. It is untouchable. It is um, unseen. You can't even see it. So it's not visible to us. And it can latch onto desires quickly and subtly, often without our conscious awareness. Sometimes we can have some desires even in our dream, while walking, while talking, when we are awake, we can also have desires, every time. You don't know how it can happen to us. Like desires can be even very subtle. Sometimes I remember there is a book by Bhante um, Rerukani Chandavimala. It is called Vanchaka Dhamma. Like how these dhammas, some of those things are cheating us, and we don't even know that they are there within us. So we have to be extremely careful because the mind is so subtle, and the ignorance can really cheat us in so many different ways. So the discerning individual, the wise individual, and the one who understands things, recognizes this and diligently guards their mind. So one has to be really careful, really mindful, really diligent in order to guard the mind. Mind is not like any other thing. You need to be extremely careful in dealing with this fragile and subtle and also untouchable mind, um, physically untouchable. By cultivating awareness and vigilance, we can prevent the mind from being led astray by fleeting desires. So the desires can keep coming, keep floating, and the one who is aware, one who is vigilant, can guard the mind against them. This guardedness, this guardedness leads to inner peace and contentment. As we learn to focus our attention on what truly matters and align our actions with our highest values. So again, this Dhammapada stanza, Chittavagga number 4, it's a really, really helpful um, advice to all of us. A guarded mind brings happiness. Then there is another one, number 5. Durangamang ekacharang asarirang guhasayang ye chittang sanyamesanti mokhanti mara bandhana. Dwelling in the cave of the heart, the mind, without form, wanders far and alone. Those who subdue this mind are liberated from the bonds of Mara. So Mara Bandhana, bonds of Mara. One can get rid of them. Mokkanti means can be liberated. The one who subdues the mind. Sanyamesati means to subdue. So the mind is durangamang. It can really go far, far distances. If you went to the moon yesterday, right now, right here, you can go to the moon in a fraction of a second with the power of the mind. And the mind, it is said, ekacharang. So without form, asarirang, without form, and also guhasayang. It needs to associate a cave. So like the Vahadayavatu we say, it resides in the heart. So dwelling in the heart, the mind without form wanders far and alone. When you have a form, maybe your journey can be a little heavier. So when you don't have a form, you can really go much faster. Those who subdue this mind, ye chittan sanyamesanti mokkanti mara bandhana. So he or she can be liberated from the bonds of Mara. The mind residing in the metaphorical cave of the heart is formless and capable of wandering far and wide. Despite its intangible nature, it has a significant impact on our lives. Those who master their minds, bringing them under control, are freed from the bonds of Mara, the ties of ignorance, attachment, and suffering. These are the bonds of Mara. Again, this verse emphasizes the importance of inner work and self mastery as the path to liberation. By turning inward and understanding the workings of our minds, we can bring free, we can break free from the cycles of suffering and attain spiritual freedom. So eventually we can break free that samsaric circle. We can decode that samsaric misery and come out of that suffering and finally attain the spiritual freedom. There's another background story to this. Over here, an uncle and nephew were leading a holy life. They became monks. They were living like monks. One day, the nephew received two pieces of cloth, and he presented one of the clothes to his uncle. But the uncle did not want to accept it. He declined it. And then this nephew was displeased. He was not happy. And then he was thinking, my uncle did not accept it, and I'm very upset, and he didn't care for me. And then he decided to leave the robe. He wanted to disrobe. So while fanning his uncle, he was thinking. This is a very interesting mental projection that he was having. He thought that he would sell one piece of cloth and buy a she goat and earn some money. Now, everything while fanning the uncle, he was thinking. Eventually, he would get married and would have a son. Now, in his mind, he also thinks then he would pay a visit to his uncle with his wife, and this wife somehow kills his uh, child, and then he would be very angry and he would start to beat his wife. He was daydreaming like that, and then suddenly he struck his own uncle with the fan, thinking that he is actually beating his wife. The uncle read his thoughts and brought him to his senses. Uncle was already an arahantama, and the nephew felt very ashamed, and he dropped the fan and ran away. There were a lot of young monks, Samanera monks, and they seized him somehow. Caught, they caught him and brought him to the Buddha. And then the Buddha described the fleeting nature of the mind. See, the mind can be very fragile. It has this fleeting nature. Dwelling in the cave of the heart, the mind without form wanders far and alone, just like that Samanera. He was already, while fanning the uncle, he was already married and getting, even having children. So many things had happened to him. The mind's nature. Very interesting story. The other stanza, number 6. Anavattita chittasya saddhammang avijanato pariplava pasadasya panyana paripurati. Wisdom never becomes perfect in one whose mind is not steadfast, who knows not the good teaching, and whose faith wavers. And if you don't have a steadfast mind, if you have a strong mind, and if you don't have good teaching, if you don't know the good teaching, if you don't know the Dhamma, and if you don't have faith, if your faith is wavering, then you cannot really have wisdom. Your wisdom will never be perfect. So the steadfast mind, one that is focused and unwavering, is essential for the cultivation of wisdom. Without a stable mind, it is challenging to grasp and embody the teachings of the Buddha. Faith, or saddha in this context, refers to confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the commitment to path and practice. A mind that is distracted and wavering cannot fully absorb or apply the wisdom of the teaching. Therefore, cultivating a stable, focused mind and a deep understanding of the Dhamma is crucial for the spiritual growth. Okay. The other stanza number 7, also little related to that, but again a little different too. Anavasuta chittassa ananvahata chetaso punya papa pahinassa natti jagarato bhayan. Jagarato means the one who is awake. Bhaya is fear. So punya papa pahinassa, the one who has abandoned punya and papa, both merits and demerits. For such people, there is no fear. There is no fear for an awakened one, anavasuta chittasa, whose mind is not sodden by lust, and ananvahata chetaso, not afflicted by hate, and one who has gone beyond both merit and demerit. For such a person, there will be no bhaya, no fear. Again, this is very interesting. Sometimes we can check ourselves. A lot of people, like mundane people, average people, they are very scared of things. Like you get scared of um, like roach or insects or even maybe lightning, thunder, and sometimes you hear sudden noise, you get scared, and you need to think, wow, I am so far away from Nibbana. So you really have to be strong. Sometimes you get like jerk or something when you suddenly hear someone coming, or suddenly if someone silently comes and shows up, and then you get scared too. Like those little things also um, can be a good example for us. Wow, we have to really do a lot of things to steady our mind, to straighten our mind. We still have so much defilement. When an unawakened individual, one who has attained enlightenment, is free from fear because their mind is not clouded by lust or hatred. That is the idea. That is the idea here. You don't have lust, you don't have hatred, and such a mind is not scared. Even if you're going to die, you don't get scared. Such a person has transcended the dualities of merit and demerit, living in a state of equanimity and balance. This verse illustrates the ultimate goal of spiritual practice, a mind that is pure, free from attachment and aversion, and beyond the cycle of karmic consequences. By striving for this state, we can cultivate a fearless and serene mind. Okay, there is another story over here. I'll also explain this story in brief. There was a farmer. This farmer wanted to become a monk again because he thought the monk life is so easy, so comfortable. And then he became a monk. And then after a while, he wanted to come back. He was thinking of his family and discarded the robe and came back. So many a times it happened when he go back to home, and then he felt, okay, this is too much work and I had to do a lot of things, and again he was not feeling comfortable, and he went back to the temple. He became a monk. So this happened many a times to him, multiple times. 6 times it is said he discarded the robe. And once he saw his pregnant wife in disarray, and that time he felt disgusted, disgusted of worldly life. And then he thought, okay, this time I'm going to become a monk again. I don't want to stay in this lay life anymore. So on the way to the monastery, he meditated, and it is said he was very very conscious and very, this time he was very serious actually. Even while walking, he was meditating, and then he became a stream enterer, Sotapan, and he entered the unwilling monks again, and he asked them to, those monks, please reordain me. And because naturally the monks were aware, like this guy will come again and he will go back again after a while, then they were not really willing to ordain him, and somehow he pleaded them to reordain, and they did it. And this time the man, he received his ordination, and before long he attained arahantaship. And then when the monks mentioned to the Buddha that he claimed to be an arahant, and then the Buddha explained his state of mind before and after his realization of Nibbana. Yeah, this is again very interesting how the mind um, can waver, and also finally when you go beyond merit and demerit, you can finally get rid of all kinds of fear. The next stanza is number 8. Kumbhupamang kaya mimang viditva nagarupamang chittamidang tapetva yodethamarang panyayudhena jitang charakhe anivesanosya. So kumbha is here a clay pot. Okay, kaya is body, and nagara is city. Chitta is mind. Yodheta means you fight. Mara is the evil one. Panya ayudena, by the weapon of wisdom. Panya ayudha. Ayudha means the weapon. So panya ayudha means by the weapon of wisdom. And jitancha rakhe anivesanosya, then you can conquest and then remain unattached. So the meaning here, realizing that this body is as fragile as a clay pot, kumbhupamang, as fragile as a clay pot, and fortifying this mind like a well fortified city. So the mind at the beginning is like a kumbha or the clay pot, and then you need to make sure that it is fortified like a well guarded, well protected city, Nagarupama. Then Yodethamaram, fight out Mara with the sword of wisdom, Panyayudhen. Then guarding the conquest, remain unattached. This verse reminds us of the impermanence and fragility of the mind, comparing it to a clay pot that can easily be broken. In contrast, the mind should be fortified like a well-defended city. The sword of wisdom symbolizes the insight that cuts through delusion and ignorance. By using wisdom to overcome the forces of Mara, we achieve a significant victory. However, we must remain vigilant and unattached, continuously guarding our minds to maintain this state of liberation. So there is another story here. Many monks, when they were meditating in the forest, they were troubled by the tree gods, tree deities, and because they were not planning to leave, and the tree deities were little concerned, and they created some unpleasant noises and sights, and that were really making the monks not comfortable. They were not able to practice meditation, and when they sought the advice of the Buddha asked them, go back to that place again. When you have a problem, don't run away. You face it, you encounter it, find a better solution, and advise them to go there and extend loving kindness. towards them all. And they did so while entering the forest, and the result that those very deities later proved very helpful to them. They were all taking care of these monks, and later these monks were able to compare the body to a vessel, and the monks developed insight, vipassana. And the Buddha read their thoughts, and this time Buddha, projecting himself before them, magically appeared before them and confirmed what they thought. And yeah, so Buddha helped them to attain arahanthood this time as well, in the forest. Again, this is an interesting story, because Buddha, when he gave instructs the monks to practice meditation, even if they go far away from the Jetavana monastery, or wherever the Buddha is, and he could still monitor them how they do it. And he was very careful. He was also, as a very true spiritual master, he was looking after them, caring for them and their spiritual well-being. So this time he helped them again to make sure that they attain arahanthood. And sometimes when the monks were also not feeling well, the Buddha used to go there and help them. For example, when Venerable Mahakassapa, Venerable Moggallana, when they were sick, after having gone to the meditation, samadhi, jhana, it is said the Buddha went to them and preached the Satta Bhujanga, 7 factors of enlightenment, and they recovered from their sickness. So this is a really beautiful example of Buddha's exemplary leadership as a spiritual master. Okay, again the number 9, Achirang Vatayang Kayo Pataving Adhisesati Chuddho Apeta Vinyano Nirathang Kalingarang. Before long, this body will lie upon the earth, unheeded and lifeless, like a useless log. So Achirang means before long. Uh, Ayankayo, this body. Patavi is the earth. Adhisesati means we lay down. Chuddho apeta vinyano, when the vinyana or the consciousness is separated. Nirathang kalingarang, just like a um, useless log. So the body, that whatever we do with our panchakanda, 5 aggregates, this skeleton will work as long as there is the consciousness. If there is no consciousness, um, the body cannot survive as well. So this stanza serves as a sobering reminder of the inevitability of death. Our bodies, no matter how strong or healthy, will one day become lifeless and forgotten. This impermanence should encourage us to focus on what truly matters, the cultivation of virtuous and wise mind. By prioritizing our spiritual development over the temporary concerns of the body, we align ourselves with the path of lasting peace and happiness. Okay, last 2 stanza, and we will be done for today. Number 10, Diso disang yantang kaira veriva panaverinang micha panihitang chittang papio nang tato kare. Whatever harm an enemy may do to an enemy, or a hater to a hater, an ill-directed mind inflicts on oneself a greater harm. So the last 2 stanzas have almost similar meanings, but little different. So diso disang yantang kaira. Even an enemy cannot do such a harm. Veriva panaverinam. Micha panihitang chittang papyo nantato kare. An enemy or a hater can do such a harm more than the ill-directed mind can inflict upon oneself. The damage that can be incurred by an ill-directed mind can be so colossal. So we really have to think of the mind, and we really have to take care of the mind, guard the mind very carefully. The harm we inflict upon ourselves with an ill-directed mind is far greater than any harm that can be done to us by external enemies. Negative thoughts, negative desires, negative emotions can cause so much deep and lasting suffering if left unchecked. So we have to be very mindful. We have to check all the time. We have to guard the mind all the time. This stanza underscores the importance of directing our mind towards wholesome, positive states and avoiding the destructive tendencies that arise from ignorance and delusion. So over here, there is again another story. There was a wealthy herdsman. He actually entertained the Buddha. He was attending to the Buddha. And one day, the Buddha departed, and then he also accompanied the Buddha to some distance. And after a while, he came back. And as he was returning, he was accidentally killed by a stray arrow. We have heard several stories where stray cows have killed some people. And over here, he was accidentally killed by a stray arrow. So the monks were talking about this. Those Putujana monks, they also were thinking, oh, the Buddha, if he did not visit there, the man would not have met such a fatal accident. And then the Buddha said, under no circumstances would he have escaped his death owing to past evil karma, and added that the internal ill-directed mind would become very inimical to oneself. So sometimes the powerful force of the karma can be so strong, and even no matter how much you try, you won't be able to get rid of that impact of the karma. So karma is not everything, but karma can be really a powerful force to reckon with. We need to think of it. When we do good things and bad things, the result will come to us in some form or the other. If not in this birth, throughout our samsara also it can happen. Sometime in life when we have such strong impact, some negativity, sometimes we get sick, sometimes meet accidents, and they are not necessarily accidental. They could be definitely the result of our own karma in the past. So the mind directed towards the 10 kinds of evil are the killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, slandering, harsh speech, vain talk, covetousness, ill will, and false belief. These are the 10 unwholesome deeds. So the last stanza, natang mata pita kaira anye vapi chanyataka samma panihitang chittang seyaso nang tato kare. Now, just as the other stanza, neither the mother nor the father, nor any other relative can do one greater good than one's own well-directed mind. So the other stanza was, previous stanza was Micha Panihitang, ill-directed mind. This one is Samma Panihitang Chitta, a well-directed mind. When the mind is well-directed, not even a mother or father or any other best of the best relative can do so much greater good to you. So this final verse highlights the unparalleled value of a well-directed mind. No external influence, not even the love and care of close relatives can benefit us from as much as our own disciplined and virtuous mind. So by taking responsibility for our own mental states and actions, we empower ourselves to lead a life of wisdom and compassion, creating the conditions for true happiness and liberation. Um, so um, that is the mind directed towards the 10 kinds of meritorious deeds again. I like the ildi, the the previous one was 10 kinds of evil. This is about the 10 kinds of wholesome deeds, meritorious deeds: generosity, morality, meditation, reverence, service, transferring of merit, rejoicing in others' merit, hearing the doctrine, expounding the doctrine, straightening, straightening one's right views. So these are the good deeds that we should cultivate all the time. Okay, so in conclusion, the Chitta Vagga from the Dhammapada provides us with profound teachings of on the nature of the mind and the importance of mental discipline. By reflecting on and applying these teachings, we can cultivate a mind that is calm, focused, and aligned with the Dhamma, leading us towards the ultimate goal of liberation from suffering. Let us take these words to heart, continuously striving to understand and master our minds for our own benefit and the benefit of all beings. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Sadhu,
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 sadhu.
sadhu.
Yeah,
So, hello to everybody joining. We have Bhante Maria, Lydia, Karuna, Meredith, Bhumika, maybe a name in Burmese, Sud, Jayanta, Geeta. And Bhante, we have a question from Hema. Is a stanza the same as a poem?
yeah, kind of, because in Buddhist literature we have both stanzas, Pali stanzas, like poetical stanzas, where you can actually see these things are easier to remember, learn by heart. So that's a very nice way to, um, we can see a lot of suttas with the stanzas, and sometimes we also see many suttas in prose form, but also we can see some in verse form. So we can see in the Tipitaka both verse and form, especially when it comes to verse. It's easier to remember and you don't forget you every line, every letter, because they were bhanakas, they were learning by heart, and it was easier for them to remember them. That was the idea.
And another question from Hema. Chitta means mind or heart?
Chitta. Well, um, you see, like in some cases, when you talk about the mind, mana, mana, chitta, even manasa. For example, in Karaniya Metta Sutta, manasam bhavaya parimanam, that manasa is metta. But also it is related to heart and the mind. Yeah, mana, chitta, they are all pretty much the same.
Thank you. And Vivian says, thank you, Bhante. And Lydia asks, can you repeat the 10 virtuous deeds again, please?
Or the 10 virtuous deeds, yes. 10 virtuous deeds are generosity, dana, sila, morality, and bhavana, meditation, and then reverence, like you're respecting, service, patti patta anumodana, like transferring merit, and then uh, rejoicing in others' merit, and then listening to Dhamma, and also teaching the Dhamma. This also is we both do both ways. Like you hear and I teach, both of us are doing a wonderful meritorious act. And then straightening one's right view, because right view is um, one of the most important um, factor that we need to go along the right path, practice the Noble Eightfold Path.
And Mary says, good evening, Bhante. And John says, I hope you are doing well, Bhante. How are things at the monastery?
Everything is good. Everything is good. I enjoy. And yeah, always very peaceful, happy, and to be here with wonderful monastics, and also wonderful people here. Always happy to be here.
Okay, and Hema asks, do all poems in Sutta come with melodies originally?
I think when it comes to these poems, they have different chandas and alankara. They call, like I remember when I was learning Pali and Sanskrit, we also had to learn Uttodaya and Uttaratnakare, and then Subodha Alankara. They were talking about the rhyming schemes. These were also very famous poems. Yeah, there were certain techniques that you need to follow. You need to learn this art of when it comes to chanting. I think that the melody, it depends on how you how personally you feel better. Like it's like a rhythm, and then also it can be healing. Like when we chant, people feel more comfortable. And I also have actually recorded the entire Dhammapada chanting in our channel, Dhamma USA. You can take a look.
Okay, and Sud asks, dear Bhante, to develop the mind, when should one look at the three characteristics? Is it wise to look at this from the very beginning of practice, or should one focus more on doing things like generosity, etc. first?
I think um, if you can do it from the very beginning, the Vipassana way, that's fine. It depends on person to person. There are people who have already practiced in the samsara. They already are used to it, and so for them, they can go straight to the Vipassana way. But some people, they need samatha way. Maybe they need little bit more help. So in order to understand the power of this dharma, maybe they need to practice dana, sila, bhavana, the other supporting things. But eventually, what is more important is the vipassana. Vipassana practice is the most powerful thing. So you can always think of that as a really powerful way. Like when you lose someone, when you get yourself sick, or when you have ups and downs in your business or in your life, you need to know, like, okay, this is the three characteristics. When something bad happens to you, you need to see the three characteristics: anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanent. Everything is subject to change and suffering. When there is change, you don't like it, you're not happy. And then whenever these things are there, you have no controlling body, So there is no permanent entity. Yeah, you can really have that controlling power. Yeah, think of it all the time actually. In day to day life, it will be very helpful.
Thank you, Bhante. And Hima has a question, not so much about the Dhammapada, but does the monastery have AC? It's pretty hot today.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, sometimes we also have to. Yeah, I think we have like system, but we also don't want to go to the system right away. We also have to learn how our body also is adjusted sometime. But for now, I think we are okay. Thank you once again. Yeah, we are all okay. We are doing well. And so I appreciate everyone for your wonderful care.
And that's the last question online, Bhante.
All right.
Hmm.
So with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you everyone for joining, and may you all be well, happy, healthy. Sukhi Dīghāyuko. Looking forward to seeing you with another Dhamma session like this. Good night.